Are you ready to stop wasting your life on habits that don't serve you? Well, today I'm going to explore the science and art of habit change so that we can unlock the secrets to living a more fulfilled and productive life. Let's start at the beginning of the year. The path to self-improvement is littered with abandoned New Year's resolutions. Just think about it. How many resolutions have you made over the years and actually kept and maintained? Often failure to keep our resolutions is not because of a lack of desire for change, rather it's a misunderstanding of how to effect that change sustainably. So to help us stop breaking our promises, we need to understand what's involved. So every year countless people set those resolutions hoping for change, yet according to studies a staggering 91% find themselves trapped in old patterns. And why? It's because changing habits is more than just a decision, it's a science. Habits form the unseen architecture of our lives. And each of us has multiple habits, both good and bad, that we like to do daily, often without really thinking about them. We brush our teeth, we check our phones, we might often forget our keys as we leave the house. These regular habits are on autopilot directing our actions, often without our conscious input. But what if we could actually retake control? It starts with understanding the habit loop, that's cue, routine and reward. This loop is the key to both our unhelpful patterns and our most empowering routines. By hacking this loop, we can replace old habits with new, empowering ones. It's about creating new pathways in our brain that lead to success, rather than rerunning the same old tracks that just lead to frustration and failure. Imagine rewriting the code that runs your life, upgrading it to serve your highest goals. But understanding the habit loop is just the beginning. To truly transform our habits, we must also address one of the most significant undercurrents of influencing our behaviour, and that's stress. Stress is linked to dopamine. When you do a new rewarding behaviour, you get a dopamine reward. This is why we sometimes form bad habits such as consuming too much sugar or smoking. Back when we were cave dwellers, we didn't have all these excessive dopamine hits, as our lives were just much simpler, and these things simply hadn't been invented or discovered. So our brains simply aren't equipped to deal with the big rush that we get. This means that you're more likely to do the thing you don't want to do when you're stressed, because you crave that dopamine reward. Stress often pulls us back to our comfort zones of old routines. So the first step in habit transformation is learning to manage stress. Techniques like mindful breathing and structured routines can minimise stress, making it easier to form new positive habits. But it's also not just about reducing stress, it's about understanding how stress drives us towards quick fixes and short-term comforts rather than long-term fulfilment. Think of a moment about the stresses in your life. How do they shape your habits? Once we begin to manage our stress, we can tackle our habits more directly. Cues trigger our habits, but they can be reprogrammed. Begin by identifying triggers of unwanted behaviours. Is it boredom that drives you to scroll through social media? Is it stress that sends you straight to the fridge? Next, introduce new cues that align with positive habits. Perhaps add a reminder on your phone not just to stand up and stretch, but to take 5 deep breaths, recentering yourself in the present. It's about creating an environment that nudges you towards the actions you want to become your new norm. How could you alter your environment today to support the habits you wish to cultivate? The art of habit replacement is perhaps the most crucial skill in your journey. We all know that trying to stop a bad habit by going cold turkey rarely works. Instead, focus on replacing it with a more beneficial one. This is where the true creativity of habit formation can come into play. Do you often crave an afternoon snack? Well, swap out that snack for some nuts or fruit. Do you feel the urge to binge watch TV? Well, try replacing that first episode with a 15-minute walk or a short workout. It's not about denying ourselves of the reward, but about substitution with something that's equally satisfying yet maybe healthier. This strategy not only helps in breaking the old habit, but in also forming a new one that contributes to your well-being. So have a think, what habit do you currently have that could be replaced with a healthier alternative? Deep personal motivation fuels lasting change. It's not enough to want to stop a habit, you need a compelling reason to change. And this is about digging deep and finding the why behind your goals. Whether it's your health, your happiness or personal achievement, your why is the anchor that keeps you steady on your journey. When the going gets tough, and it often will, remembering that why you started can be the light that guides you through the darkness. So take a moment to think about your why. If you can, write it down somewhere, because this will help reinforce it in your mind, which can be a powerful reminder and motivator on your journey. However, even with the best laid plans, relying solely on willpower is a setup for failure. Willpower is kind of finite. It wanes as the day progresses, it reduces throughout the day. Willpower is kind of like a muscle and it gets tired when it's forced to work harder. You can think of it as a limited resource. The more pressure you put on yourself when you try to quit bad habits, the more likely you are to fail. So instead of setting yourself up for a test of willpower, create systems that minimise the need for it. Prep healthy meals in advance, schedule your workouts like you would a business meeting, or set up a bedtime routine to ensure you get enough rest. These systems reduce the number of decisions that you have to actively make, conserving your willpower for when you really need it. I do believe that having good and often simple systems in place that can help our regular routines can be a really powerful technique to help make our goals more achievable. We also need to remember that change is not always instantaneous. It's a process that requires some patience, some consistency, and forgiveness for the inevitable occasional setbacks. Every misstep is an opportunity to learn, not just a reason to give up. Celebrate the small victories, learn from your slips and persist. Each day is a new opportunity to strengthen your new habits an inch closer to your ideal self. So when you set your goals, make sure they're easy enough and sustainable. Having lower or less goals is often so much more important than having too many large and unrealistic goals. Now, your habits are the building blocks of these future goals. By understanding and applying these principles, you're not just changing habits, but you will be transforming your life. If you found this insightful, please do give this video a like, it does really help, and subscribe for more of my videos about how we can live enjoyable, productive lives. You might also want to check out another one of my videos here, and I'll see you in the next one.